Very good morning to all the participants. And today, I, Dr. Sangeeta, working in Department of Computer Science and Engineering from Ramaya Institute of Technology, Bangalore, I'm here to give an insight on artificial intelligence and machine learning and few applications, how to fight using this technology, the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll just give an insight about what is AI, machine learning. Let us understand the machine learning process and the different types of machine learning process. And I'll take you through few key applications, how this technology is used to fight the COVID-19 and few of the challenges where most of the researchers are currently working on. What is artificial intelligence? Let us see what the relationship that exists between this artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning. Before that, as you all know, the COVID-19 pandemic is shifting this digital transmission era into an high gear. So we need this AI, ML, deep learning in multiple fronts to overcome the pandemic situations. So let us understand the technology, how it is used to overcome this pandemic situation. What is AI? As you all know, when I say it is artificial, means it is made by human, and intelligence means an ability to acquire or apply the knowledge and skill. So together, artificial intelligence is like exhibiting intelligence artificially into the machines. That's how artificial intelligence will make the machine to think and do the task. So this machine learning again is a subset of this AI that includes statistical techniques, how machine can improve to perform the various tasks. And you can also see here deep learning. This is another subset of machine learning, and this deep learning is consisting of various algorithms where you can apply to perform the different types of tasks. So I can say today AI is going to change our world in future, in very near future. It's already drastically, we could find the changes, but also this would be a much drastic change in future. So I just want here to highlight on like few of the important points, like how is it going to drastically change? Where I can say if AI is everywhere, artificial intelligence is everywhere. The very first point, I hope most of you would agree with. Today, I think even a small kid cannot say that it can be without Alexa. So it can be a school-going kid, but says Alexa is very important. And when you just step out of your house to the public, we can say this facial recognition, this technology is being widely used in every sectors. And as you all know that because of this pandemic situation, what's happening, we always prefer this online shopping. So Amazon, Flipkart, or it could be any other, where the product recommendation, it is helping out the people to purchase at their place whatever they want. This is all because of this artificial intelligence and machine learning. So the very first point is AI is everywhere. And the second thing, AI is going to transform entire industry, not a single industry. It could be the sectors in farming, or it could be in banking sectors, or it could be industries with related to manufacturing, and the most important in the healthcare sector to overcome the pandemic situation. And the third point, you all know that this AI will make us more human. AI is something which makes human to human artificial intelligence to be imparted. So it is making us more human. Why? Because I think I believe even though we are having intelligent missions, but still we need human, where the humans who are having the capability with more creativity and innovation. Okay. And the fourth point here, which I want to focus is, AI is becoming more affordable to each and every individual today. And the fifth point is AI not only fuels the technology with related to computer science engineering or information science engineering, it could be any other technologies. It could be the wide technology trends. Why is this interest in AI? Most of them today would find, you don't find like any field without this AI. So you could find as a labor, the technology or into the science or various appliances used by the common person, the search engine, it could be Google, Yahoo, or it could be in the medicinal field in diagnosing the various types of diseases. So all these sectors today, they do make use of AI. And most important, today, because of the pandemic situation, ours to, like as a parent, if I think about my child, how they are going to cope up with this online education. So this artificial intelligence plays a very important role though, wherein the Amazon Alexa is having the capability today to teach the students to read and write in a very innovative manner, where the students can enjoy the learning process if they are very frustrated with the online. So this is just a hint to show that pandemic is changing the education field today. And of course, you can see today the chatbots, which are all being developed using with this AI technology, is changing our education field. So you can see that the chatbots today help the students to learn through online medium by engaging them in all types. It could be to school level or it could be up to the university level. So with this insight, let me move on in understanding machine learning. As you all know, machine learning is also a subset of artificial intelligence. So what is machine learning? As you say, human learn from a tutor. Very similarly, you can see that a machine can learn from data. So when I say data, the data which has been collected from the past. So from the past history, a machine can also learn. So just you could see the image here, which I've given. This is the human way of learning. As such, this is how a machine learns from data. So I can say this machine learning learns from data, from examples, experience, wherein machine need not be explicitly programmed to know how to learn from the data. So just to give a comparison between machine learning and the traditional programming approach. See, in traditional programming approach, what we do is as a person or a user, I just give the input and I write the program, feed the program, and I expect some output. But in case of machine learning, what happens is machine learns from the input data, where the machine is also fed with what is the output the user expects. So machine is given with the input and output, and we expect the machine to learn from the data and come out with a logic, how exactly it can predict the right output. So most important here, you need to understand is the machine learning does not expect any explicit coding. It only learns from the data, more and more from the data. So the important terminology or the term which I'm going to apply is data. So this machine learning, it always makes the program smarter to make them think and learn from the data. So I just will give a very simple example. Say, for example, if it's a kindergarten kid, which has been shown with some images of fruits like apple, orange, lemon, etc., orange. So the kindergarten kid will be made to understand what an apple is based on the color or based on the shape, what an orange is, or what a lemon is, what is banana is. So based on how the teacher teaches the kindergarten, the kid will try to learn based on the features. Yeah, apple means it is red in color and it is a oval in shape or round in shape. When I say orange, it could be the orange color. So this is how a kindergarten kid will learn. So how is that a mission is going to learn? So all this features of the fruits will be made available in the form of a data set. So wherein the data set, which will be a text form of data, which includes all the features of various fruits, which could exactly give on a classification whether the fruit belongs to an apple, orange, etc. So any machine learning algorithm, I can say we can divide them into like a training phase and the testing phase. So what is this training phase? So training phase is where the machine learns from the data which is being fed. The more and more data which is trained with, the machine should be able to predict and give an accurate result. So how do we check whether after training, how do we check whether the machine is doing the correct prediction? It is with the testing phase. So you try to test the model which is trained by giving a new set of data, and we just check whether given a new apple, say an apple which is a green color, is the model able to predict that is a apple or an orange? So that's how you can test the model which is being trained. So you need to remember the two phases, the training phase and testing phases are very important in this machine learning process. So the previous slide, I was talking about two phases, training phase and the testing phase. Now, let us understand the actual machine learning process. So there are 5 steps. These are the 5 important steps in machine learning process. The very first step is get data. When I say get, so either artificial intelligence or the machine learning technology, we need to mainly focus on the data and the data management. So the first step here is get data. So what type of data is required to do a project? It could be a text data, or it could be an image data, or any other format of data. So based on what type of data is required to carry out your project, so you can select the suitable type of data. From where you're going to select this data? Are you going to consider the real-time data? You can go for it. That's one option. Or is it the static data which is available in the database? So I just, there are few important sources available in the database. It could be where, based on the type of project where you would be interested to carry out, you would try to access the data from the various repository. It could be the UCI machine learning repository, or the Google, or it could be Amazon, or as most researchers will always prefer the Kaggle data set, or it could also be the Garmin data set. So these are the few important sources from where the data set could be used for the researchers to carry out the projects based on this AI and ML. Along with all this, they could consider the real-time data set to test whether the trained model gives an accurate result. Coming to the second step, clean, prepare, and manipulate data. As you all know, the data is available in the database. It could be from the various repositories that you may consider. And when I say if you're considering it from the repository, you may always have it a structured data. But remember that when you have to validate your model, when you test your model, we try to test it with the real world data. Okay, so understand your real world data is unorganized data. Okay, so how do we convert this unorganized data to an organized data? Or I can say it is an unstructured data to structured data. This is a very important step. The second step here plays an important role, how you're going to convert, because when you have to validate your model, you work with a real-time data set. It's an unorganized data. You need to convert this unorganized data into structured data. So most of the researchers will always spend, I think, around 70 to 80% of time in this particular stage so that their model will give a good accuracy. So I'll just move on here to show that unstructured data is what the real-time data. It could be, when I say unstructured data, it is something like which does not have a proper structure. I mean to say, when I say structured data, it is like a table having the rows and columns. So if you are taking the data sets from the static database, they have been structured data. They are available in the rows and columns, very easy to work on with that. Usually it could be like numbers, dates, and string. But you remember that for various researchers, they would consider the data in the form of images, or it could be audio, or it could be video, or it could be any word processing files, emails, spreadsheets, all these data which are unstructured data. So these unstructured data, you need to convert. It is very important that you need to convert this unstructured data into structure, that is into a CSV file. So once you convert your unstructured data into the CSV file, the most important step is you are going to split the data set into two parts, what is called the training part and the testing part. That is, once your data set is ready, I can say 70% of the data set I will use to train the model, and the remaining 30% I can use it for testing the model. So the ratio can goes on like 70% as training and 30% for testing, or some would also prefer 80% for training and 20% for testing. Okay, so this slide, I just wanted to know that this data could be as a structured data or unstructured data which you could work on, but more or less the machine learning second process is very important, where most of the researchers have to spend a lot of time in cleaning, preparing, and manipulating the data. And the third step is train model. So this actually is a very important phase in the machine learning, where how once your CSV file is ready, now your data set gets connected to the type of algorithm which you require, and you use the algorithm with a mathematical model to learn. So the algorithms try to learn from the data set and comes out with the prediction. And it can be, they predict, it could be a binary form. The prediction can be of as a binary form, or when I say binary, it could be like yes or no. Yes, you classify 0 or 1, true or false. Or it could also be you classify into multiple categories, different categories, or it could be also regression, where you also want to predict some numerical value. Okay, so at this training model, you're going to connect your data set to the algorithm and make your algorithm along with the mathematical model to learn and train. And the next phase is test data set. So once your model has been trained, now you have the remaining 20% of the data set. So you try to test the model with that 20% of the test data set. Check what is the accuracy. Say if you are as a user, like when you're carrying out with certain project, and if you're not happy with the results, when you test with a new data set, what happens if the result is satisfactory? So you can again improve. So you can again just move back to the third step, and you can train the model with more data so that again you can test until you get a satisfactory results. So this is what is called the improve phase. Once in the fourth phase, test the data. If you're not satisfied with the results obtained, so just move back and train the model with more number of data, and until you get a satisfactory result. So these are the 5 steps in machine learning process. Let me all take you through what are the different types of machine learning techniques. So we generally can classify as supervised learning, reinforcement learning, and unsupervised learning. So these are the 3 different classifications. So I think the image would give you a very clear idea. What do you mean by a supervised learning? So there is a supervisor to teach the mission how. It is something like you can consider there is a tutor from where you can learn from. Okay, that's supervised learning. And you could see in case of unsupervised learning, the image shows that whereas there is no tutor and where a user or an individual is trying to learn on his own, that is unsupervised. There is no supervisor, nobody is there to monitor. You just start learning on your self-learning. That's unsupervised learning. Okay, and the next comes reinforcement learning. Look at the image. The reinforcement learning is how you learn on your own by trial and error method. Fine. So these are the three different types of machine learning techniques. Now let us just look into these techniques in depth. Sir, I'm audible now?
Yes, madam, you are audible.
Okay. So let us understand what is this supervised learning. So I just showed in the previous slide, supervised learning is where there is a supervisor to make the machine learn. So it means that it's a type of learning method where the model will be trained with a labeled data set. Simple example, let me consider a labeled data like this. You can see a collection of fruits which I've taken, and the collection of fruits, every fruit is being labeled, say like apple, strawberry. So this is the label data set which will be fed to the model, and the model will be trained for this particular data set. And our mission, once after the model is being trained, we try to test the model whether does it given any type of fruit, is it able to predict, is it apple or strawberry? Okay, if it is not able to predict the right fruit properly, then you need to include more types of data set and train the model again. So just look at the figure here. You can see that a label data set is input to the mission for the training process. So I can say in case of supervised learning algorithm, the input is a labeled data set and the output is where we just check whether it does the correct prediction or not. So wherein here the mission has to come out with a set of rules. It has to frame the rules. Say, for example, what the rules it could frame to identify an apple. It's oval in shape, red in color, and say in case of strawberry, it has to again frame out with a different set of rules so that only it can be able to classify the difference between an apple and a strawberry. So you could see that in this, wherein in the testing phase, the model is being tested by giving two different types of fruits like apple, and it is able to make a right prediction. So if not, say, for example, apple, orange, and say watermelon, some green apple is given, it is able to classify these are apples and these are all not apples. So this is supervised learning. What are the two types of problems which we could solve using this super learning technique? So it could be classification problem and regression problem. Mainly the classification problem always helps to predict the discrete value. And there are few of the algorithms, classification algorithms, which you can focus on to carry out your research. It could be a naive-Bayes classifier or a support vector mission, or it could be logistic regression. And coming to regression problem, mainly these problems are used for continuous data. So there is no, when I say discrete, it's like yes or no. Like very good example, how do you classify the mail as spam or not spam? So you can apply a supervised learning algorithm. As such, if I have to predict what is the cost of a price, so the cost of price is not like, a one single discrete value, it is continuous value. So the cost of price in say in Bangalore could be quite different from another district. So it is a continuous value. The size can remain the same. It could be 30 by 40, but it depends upon the area where exactly the location is, and the price cost would be different. Okay, so there's a continuous value. So there are different regression problems which you could apply, like linear regression, non-linear regression, Bayesian linear regression. So these are just few insights which I've just included, what the algorithms which you can apply. There are also many other algorithms. Coming next, unsupervised learning. As you all know, in case of unsupervised, we call this as it is something like, you can say, a self-learning technique. Here, the mission will be fed with a collection of fruits, okay, and the data which has been fed, you can observe here in the image, there is no label. It's only a collection of fruits which has been fed, and the model has been trained to identify whether this fruit belong to which category. Is it a category of all apple, or is it all a category of mangoes, or it is a category of oranges? So you could see that here in case of unsupervised machine learning, it will always make the machine to learn from their features. Okay, I'm not going to say this is apple. The machine has to learn based on its color, shape, or what type of feature, what type of fruit it is. So it is going to learn from the features of the fruits and then try to clusterize into different groups, that this is an apple and this is mango and this is orange. A very simple diagram to just give you like what is an unsupervised. So an unlabeled data set will be fed to the machine so that it is able to categorize and clearly classify what are the different types of fruits. The various algorithms which we can apply for solving the unsupervised learning problems, it could be K-means clustering, neural network, or principal component analysis algorithm. So you can just observe one. There are many other algorithms. So I've just taken one simple like K-means clustering algorithm, wherein here you could see that the algorithm is able to classify the input data into different categories. Say all the balls here with the red, green, and blue, three different categories. And you can see the next is neural network. So this is again a subset of, artificial intelligence, where a neural network model, which consists of different layers, what's called an input layer, return layer, and the output layer. So we train the model into including multiple required set of hidden layers so that the model is able to predict the right output. In this image, you could see if a cat image is being fed to the trained model, it's able to classify that as cat with 38% and dog as 62. So not very accurate, is it not? Accurately, if it has been properly trained, then it should be able to clearly classify that the given image fed is a cat. Okay, so a simple algo, like an image that shows that how the neural network model is also used for classification. And the third one is high-risk data set. So you can take a high-risk data set and the different species you can classify using the PCA algorithm, whether the data belongs to Setosa species or versicolor or it is Virginica. Coming to the third type, reinforcement learning technique. As I just told, reinforcement learning, it's a learning technique which we call an int and trial method of learning. Say, for example, when you start playing a new game and you doesn't know how to play the game, but still when you have an help instruction as a user, with the help of the help instruction, you try to play the game and your focus will be, how do I win a game? Hoping that when you win a game, there is some reward which is given to you. The reward, which is a force of attraction for this reinforcement learning. Only when there is a reward, you tend to learn more, is it not? So what happens is a very simple game. You just play and you try to win because of the reward. Okay, suppose you lose for the very first time, no issue, since your focus is on getting a reward. What you do now, you will follow a different way to play the same game, but ultimately now you will try to win the game. It is like trial and error. You do again and again and again, but ultimately you will focus on how you can win the game because you want to achieve the reward. It's very simple like that. The mission also has a reinforcement learning technique wherein it tries to learn from the experience. So this reinforcement learning is moving the trend in future, making all the automobiles, also the devices, to be as automatic. Okay, so wherein like the self-driving car, all this is because of this reinforcement learning. Just to summarize, but as we just saw what is supervised, unsupervised reinforcement. So just to remember the key point, when I say supervised, it is a mission learns from the training data set, labeled data set. If it's unsupervised, no training data, it is an unlabeled data which the model gets trained. Whereas in case of reinforcement learning, the mission tries to learn on its own. So the various machine learning problems, like we could apply different algorithms, and for most of the researchers from the student or faculties, or it could be the research scholars, we would prefer always the Python for implementing all these machine learning algorithm because of the packages that are supported like Pandas, NumPy, or it could be Matplotlib or TensorFlow. These are the different packages which I've just included here. Of all these, it makes the algorithms very easy implementation. So we would preferably go for Python, wherein sometimes we also need not explicitly install some packages and all like Python. You can always have the online Google Colab, which is available through internet source, and very easily you can work on with the machine learning algorithms or any AI algorithms because of all these supporting packages you can import and you can work. So this was my insight to give you an introduction to what is AI and ML. And the actual talk for today is like, I want to take you through some of the applications, how this ML and AI is taking on the today's COVID-19 pandemic situation. And you can see that the AI applications are used at different stages of the COVID-19. It could be especially here at different stages, starting from the detection. As you all know, like, in 2019, when we were completely unaware about this coronavirus in China, Wuhan, the first blue dot which came across to, it was an AI company which came out with diagnosing there is a different type of virus that could really harm like most of the people. And that was the first blue dot with the AI technology in detecting this coronavirus. That was a very beginning stage in 2019. That was a early warning signs. So next in diagnosis also, you can find based on the pattern recognition, you can use the medical image. It could be CT scan or X-ray image. Based on all these different types of images, you can apply AI or ML technology to diagnose what exactly the type of diseases. Is it COVID or is it normal, some other diseases? And you can also use it for prevention. Say in case of prevention, you should be able to predict, say for us, predict the coronavirus outbreak. So or it could be like you're calculating how a person, how much percentage is being infected with a pneumonia. So you can use Epirisic, or it could be surveillance. Say you want to monitor the public people, or you want to track. So there are various contact tracing applications which are now available, and you want to collect the information about, say, COVID-19, you have the social media network. It could be Facebook, WhatsApp, or Instagram. It could be any network. Fine. So I just want to highlight here, like in case of prevention, you can either focus on predicting surveillance, or you also want to work on with the COVID data. So for information collection, and the other possibility is at response. So, today, most of them are trying to use a drone with a AI technology so that you can easily manage and monitor the COVID patients. Drones are used for sanitization, and drones are trying to give the prescription to the COVID patients. So most of the country, they're trying to use this drone as a to give the medicines to the COVID patients in a prescribed time. And also service automation, the chatbots are being continuously used by most of the public people. And coming to the third stage, in case of recovery, so you can have the VBank as one of the monitoring method. And how exactly can we accelerate the research of this using AI and machine learning applications for the COVID-19? How do we accelerate? So most important is to accelerate. The most important, you need to have the computation power, and you need data, and the management of data is most important. So these are the key points which I just want to focus on, how you can accelerate research using this AI technology at different stages of this COVID-19 crisis. So I just focused on the Blue Dot. Blue Dot was one of the Canadian startup that in the beginning, which used this AI to detect the coronavirus outbreak. And this Blue Dot was mainly focusing on the health officials and as well as in the airlines, because the passengers traveling from one country to the other country, mainly they were helping out in this spread of coronavirus. And also it was very much useful in the hospitals to manage this COVID. One more application which I just want to focus here is AI-powered temperature screening system. As you all know, like now, most of the other countries, they have already been using, like in railway stations, or it could be in some ways where there are huge number of passengers, public people. So they just want an automatic way how you can test for the temperature. So there are devices which have been designed using this AI power. So I think you can just see this image, which you can see the passengers where they are standing in a queue, and it is just giving what is the temperature of the human body. And based on the human body, it is like able to classify whether is a normal or is it something abnormal. Say we would categorize the abnormal as is like an COVID. Okay, so this kind of temperature screening system has been used in many other countries now. And next, AI-based, there were many apps which were being used, and now I think Apple and Google also have come out with multiple applications. So just to understand, like what is contact tracing? Okay, contact tracing, as you know, the public people, when you just go around in the when you go around to your educational institution or in a working organization, or it could be the transportation via the road or any other medium, wherever you go by, I think this contact tracing is very much required, because you need, every individual has to be very alert when when they'll have to interact with a neighboring person because he might be an infected person. So how do you get to know that he is an infected person? So very important is like, as you all know, most of them are using the smartphones, and we can have these applications which are built using Apple and Google. So I think Chinese government first, they came out with an close contact detector app. So when the app was very easily able to detect the corona patients, COVID patients were nearby in a particular region. And then Singapore also came out with another app called Trace Together. And then I think most of us in India are using this Arogya Setu app. So all these apps, they are like helping out in the collection of data, as well as they are helping out in the other way of the user to be alert and to be free from the COVID infected people. And all this data, which is connected from all these applications, in turn could be used in our research, and we could be able to make prediction whether the COVID is spreading in a fast or it is spreading very slowly, so that it could help out like in predicting whether are we going to have a lockdown or not in future. And today there are AI robotic systems which are already being deployed and are being used. One example, if I have to give, like a hotel in Hangzhou in China, they are using this robots which have been developed and designed using artificial intelligence to deliver the meals to the travelers, because when there is a COVID infection, you put them in isolation. So how these isolated people can have a regular meal? So we can have these robots which can help them. And you can also see on the other side, there is a robo here which is trying to deliver the food and medicine to the COVID patients. And this is also being used in one of the Chennai hospital. So just an example here, which I've considered, but as such, there are many more application of these robots which are trying to fight against this COVID-19 pandemic. And coming to the drone technology, which you can see China is now using the drone to detect whether a person is having fever or not, because the drone which is somewhere above a feet of 3 feet from the human, but still it is able to detect the body temperature. That's a very important thing, because in general, if you see like we having a temperature sensor and trying to sense the COVID patient body temperature, in turn that may affect us. So to try to avoid all that, we can use this drones technology, wherein at a very distance, around a 3 feet distance, there are drones which is able to detect the body temperature. And most of the places, I think this is very common now. Drones are used for spraying disinfectant, and also they have been used for performing the basic diagnostic functions. And this is another important because see, like we have come out with the vaccines from the different researchers which have been developed at the labs, like Covishield, Covaxin, and also many other vaccines. But the Google DeepMind has introduced this AlphaFold, where they are working on where they are able to predict the 3D structure of this protein. And so that the more they are trying to do the research on the protein structure, wherein the researchers are trying to identify the different variations of coronavirus. So once they're able to identify this different variation of coronavirus, in turn, the next step would be that that could help the researchers could also identify a vaccine to overcome that particular variation of virus. So because of the AI technology, it is very easy helping the researchers in understanding the protein structure, and also to understand the respiratory illness which is very common in the corona patients. And this in turn may help out our researchers to come out with a very, good vaccine that could make us free from this coronavirus. Because as we all know, even though we have taken first dose or second dose of Covaxin or a Covishield, but still there are like people who are getting affected with this, even this second level or third level of virus variation of coronavirus. So this is a very good company which is working on this pandemic situation, the Google DeepMind. Very similarly, as such, AI is finding its application in COVID-19. Even the machine learning is also finding wide application for different cases of this COVID-19. It could be to trace the corona outbreak, or I could use machine learning algorithm to diagnose a patient and just conclude with whether he's a COVID patient or not. So very easily I can use different machine learning algorithms to diagnose the patient's disease. And also I can apply the algorithms for various, for disinfecting the areas. And based on the AI and the machine learning technology, we are finding out, the researchers are coming out with a different vaccine possible. They're trying to find a cure for this COVID-19. And machine learning is mainly algorithms are being used in the devices for screening and detecting the COVID infection. There are different models, say like there is a machine learning model which is mainly used to study the flight traveler data. And because the passengers are moving from country to country via the flight, and this flight traveler data is helping out the researchers to predict the corona outbreak. That's the reason where the government, whenever the corona is like increasing, they immediately stop this flight traveling. And the next application is in remote diagnosing and also monitoring. Like in Israel, there is Ocalis Health, wherein they are trying to collect the voice samples of coronavirus patient, and they are trying to diagnose whether he's COVID or non-COVID, because this Ocalis can relate the voice of a normal human being with the symptoms of COVID-19, because the COVID-19 affected people, mainly they have with the, I think the problem will be with their throat infection, and because of that cough, there will be a disturbance with the normal talk. So this Ocalis Health, they're using this they're mainly working on here to collect the samples of the patient, and they are trying to differentiate between the COVID and the normal people. And suppose if it's a COVID, then they're trying out the healthcare system by just sending a message to their SMS by their smartphones. And there are many machine learning models for the government, where the government is now trying to predict the COVID-19 outbreak in future. Say like in 2021, they predicted there could be a third wave in the month of August to October. And it is mainly going to affect the kids, small kids. So where the government is able to do this prediction, it's all because of these machine learning models which have been available. Like there is SEIR model, regression models, these are being used, and these models are being used by the government mainly by collecting the data from the period of, say, I could say from January 2020 to 10th May, January, they came out and they could predict. Like in 2020, with this data, they were able to predict very soon there is going to be a third wave. So very similarly, the government could also be able to predict the spread of the disease. how it could spread, say in another 1 month, how fast it could spread, or it could be another 2 months, how it could spread. So this fast spread of the disease can be predicted using the machine learning models. And there are many models which are helping out in different countries to identify and contain the spread of virus because the data which is available on the common repository, the repository which is now available for every researchers to work on. We have the COVID-19 outbreak challenge data set, a common repository where everybody is like doing research, many research by accessing these data which is available on the repository. So this is one simple text form of data which I've just shown, wherein you could see that I've taken the feature like, COVID-19, common cold, flu, allergy, and based on the symptoms, like the symptoms could be like, if it is fever, dry cough, shortness of breath, then I would apply based on the machine learning model, the machine could be able to classify that it's a common COVID-19, or it could be a common cold. If it is, if there is no fever, only mild dry cough, or there is no shortness of breath, then it could predict like it's a common cold. And sometimes even due to allergies also, you may have this ache, pain, sore throat. So based on all these symptoms, you could see that the machine learning model is able to classify, is it a common cold, or is it COVID-19, or it is due to an allergy, or due to a normal flu. So this was just an example which I considered like this. There are different data which are available to predict the COVID infection details. And we can also know that not only that we accept the data in the form of text, it could be also on the image. So the machine learning models are being trained for the images. Say, for example, there are deep learning models which have been trained wherein they're able to, the model has been trained with the scanned images of a COVID-19 patient. It's been trained, and then if we could test, it is very easily able to classify whether it is COVID-19 positive or COVID-19 negative. So there are different deep learning network models which most of the researchers are now working on, wherein they need to classify by just observing the X-ray image, or it could be the CT scan image, and CT scan image, and like they're able to classify whether it's COVID-19 or COVID positive or negative. So the data can be just observe here. The data, it could be in the form of a text data where the model can be trained with, or it could be the image form of data where the model could be trained with. As an example, I've taken here an image data set. And also, the dashboard here, which is giving a regular daily basis update for how many number of positive cases all over the state, country. And this in turn, the dashboards are in turn helping us out in having a huge collection of COVID data, helping the researchers could predict the corona outbreak. And most of the earlier, I think in the first wave and the second wave, it was very much compulsory that the COVID patients have to be isolated for 15 days. So when this 15 days of isolation period, the COVID patient, how in turn they can get the help of a doctor, or it could be how in turn they can interact with their nearby ones. It could be with the help of chatbots. So this chatbot is again a technology built with AI and machine learning, and playing a huge role today, helping out the COVID-19 infected people. And there's another application where the deep learning based cough recognition model. So based on the cough of a person, we are able to classify, the machine learning model is able to classify, that's based on the sound. Okay, based on the cough sound, it is able to clearly classify whether it is a COVID-19 patient or a normal, or it's a normal person cough. Okay, and I think this model which was being developed, it is almost giving an accuracy of 87.4%, and this model is now being also widely used in most of the public places, so that it is when any public platform, it could be schools, office, restaurant, or it could be any people, it's most important that when a person cough, there should be some alerting system, like whether he's a normal person or an infected person. Good. So just an application that even by the cough, by recognizing the cough, we are able to predict whether he's a COVID or normal person. And most important now is, like, since COVID infected on a touch or through air, there is very easily the transmission of this virus from one person to another person. So the focus of the researchers is now towards touchless respiratory measurement and heart rate measurement. So there is also much research which is being carried out here. And I think this source, which I just collected from like University of Nottingham, they have come out with, there is a contactless model which is helping out which is helping out in this touchless heart rate measurement and also the respiratory system. So with these highlights on, various applications, how AI and machine learning is playing its role to fight against this COVID-19 pandemic situation, the most thing is, if we need the technology to play its role, we need to have a dedicated platform. So this is most important. The dedicated platform is very much important. And next is access to data set. That is, when I say a dedicated platform, that means most of the researchers are collecting the data, and there are from various sources the data is collected, but all these are to be available on a common platform. Say could like a Kaggle, that's a common platform which is being used by most of the researchers to access this. And access to data set. So if the common platform is available to access the COVID-19 data for all the researchers, this data set should be made available, publicly accessible to everyone. So we have the COVID-19 open research data set. So due to this, everyone, we can access all the COVID-19 related data. And the next is computing power. This is most important. Okay, if the researchers has to come out with, the outbreak prediction or different models for diagnosing the infection, or to come out with a better vaccine, the most important is computing power is required. So I think now we have this companies like IBM, Google, Amazon, and I think even Microsoft, they are donating the computing processing part to the researchers to carry out the research using the AI technology. And next is innovative approach. This is more improve. We'll have to accelerate the research for COVID-19. What are the innovative? See, this COVID outbreak started in 2019. We are now in 2021, but still there is no end for the COVID-19. So we need more solutions to tackle this problem. So if we'll have to find the solution, the most thing is innovative methods are required to tackle this COVID-19. So it could be the platform. There can be open source collaboration platform by various researchers. That could be one approach. And I think now most of the educational organizations or institutions, they are coming out with hackathons, mainly for finding the solutions for this COVID-19 outbreak. I think very recently also I just came across like, I think in UK, there was a hackathon, which is called Corona Hack AI versus COVID-19. Mainly they conducted this hackathon so that they wanted the solutions or the ideas from various data scientists, or they wanted the solutions from biomedical researchers, or it could be also from the various business people. They wanted the solutions to tackle this COVID-19 pandemic. So these are the, I think these would be the four important requirements for the various researchers to carry out the research in this field. And to conclude with, I think now we could find, most of the students, or it could be the faculties of the educational institutions to support this COVID-19 pandemic situation. They are rigorously working on with simple projects. Say, for example, I could say the projects which are carried out by the research scholars or students or faculties that in turn can help us out, the researchers or the intern, like the governments, like to avoid this COVID-19 outbreak and to be completely free from this COVID-19 break. So I just have highlighted here few of the problems where you could work on. Most of us, we think of like, this mask is something which is very common now. So if we'll have to recognize face recognition, most important is recognizing the face mask. So we need to come out with a device or model where it detects the face mask, and also it could detect the body temperature. And next one is non-contact medicine dispensing robot. This is again very much important. And oxygen level analysis. I think most of us, we now use the device to check the oxygen level, but still, I think we can also work on to a better way of coming out with a better model for managing and monitoring the oxygen level of this COVID-19 patients. And we can also work on with medical glove technologies. And the next one is non-invasive wearable glucose level monitoring. This is most important for COVID-19 patient. And next one is, as you all know, the educational institution today, most of the institutions are closed from the 2019 till today, but wherein few higher levels, it could be like 10th, 12th, or it could be like, degree, final year degree students. They have been forced that even in the pandemic situation, they'll have to visit the campus. So we need a device and a model wherein how you can monitor and track the public people. And next one is, how can we manage social distancing? So I think the drone technologies have already come up in sensing the distance between the public people. And if the distance is very close, it just gives an alert message. So there are a lot of research going on in this social distance monitoring, and also many different types of convolution neural network models are available in sensing the distance between the human being. And also detection of COVID-19 by using chest X-ray image or CT scan image. And it could be like we are trying to diagnose whether it's COVID-19 or it is a normal. There is some problem with, sometimes it could be also some infection due to cold. So we need a model. We need to work on with different types of model to detect this COVID-19 based on the images. Could be an X-ray image, CT scan, or it could be any other image form of data collected. And completely monitoring the COVID-19. As you know, the COVID-19 patients, when they are being isolated or when they are being hospitalized, and even the doctors or the nurses who do feel very uncomfortable in going and monitoring the patient very regularly. So we need a device. We need to come up with a device, a method. How can we monitor this COVID-19 patients? As we all know, chatbot, they're already available, but still we can also come out with more other features and healthcare chatbot system using artificial intelligence technology. And predicting the spread of COVID-19 virus. So we need to predict what is the outbreak, say after another 1 month or 2 months. So will there be an end for this third wave, or is it going to continue? So we need to come out with a model, how we can predict. And COVID-19, whether it's a COVID-19 pneumonia or it is a normal pneumonia. So there is, even here under this, there are a lot many researchers who are carrying out using the deep learning models to classify. And there's much work which is carried out on designing low-cost ventilators, as well as detection of COVID-19 using cough. And next, predictive analysis and forecasting of COVID-19 outbreak. This is also one of the problem. And most of them are now trying to think of the wearable bands. It could be like your, like a smart watch, okay, a wearable bands for COVID-19 patient monitoring, or it could be also like that you be free from the COVID-19 infected people. So a wearable band, which it could alert when you come in with a person who is having with a high temperature. And of course, the last, which is most of us are now trying to come out with an automatic object sanitizing device, because these things are something now become very common. Face mask, sanitization, all that. So we need to come out with the devices which can be with the AI technology, or it could be in turn like, a more device developed using IoT and AI technology. So these are the few problems which I just have highlighted, all related to this COVID-19 outbreak. And the most of the content here, which I have included in my presentation, I have collected from the internet source. So I would like to thank Google for making all this resource available and sharing the same to all my fellow participants. Thank you all for your patience listening.